Hello and welcome to Women's Biz Podcast. I'm Annie Gibbins, founder and CEO of Women's Biz Global, and I invite you to get comfortable and listen in on candid conversations I have with fascinating women from around the globe. Business leaders, entrepreneurs, humanitarians, athletes, and a whole lot of regular people. Tune in as they let their guard down and open up on aspects of their business and life journey, how they measure success, and what they have learned along the way. These conversations aim to inspire you to embrace opportunities and possibilities beyond the limits of your imagination. Reclaim your power, strength, and vulnerability. Stand in your truth and propel yourself towards the life you dream to live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Women's Biz podcast. I'm so thrilled to have you join us today, as always. And I love your feedback when you've been giving that via the so many different platforms that we are streaming on, audio platforms, and also YouTube and my LinkedIn Live. It's just so great to be able to connect with all of you. And today I have a lovely guest. Her name is Nancy Marks. Welcome to the program, Nancy.
Hi, Annie. I'm so glad to be here.
So wonderful to have you here because I'm really excited about talking about your business, which is Glass Arts Collective, because we get to talk about how we can turn a hobby into a business. And I know this is just such a huge topic of interest for women in business, particularly because it's such a big jump to go from a side hustle, something that is a passion project, to actually can this become the real deal. So I'm hoping you're going to inspire a lot of our listeners today. How about we kick it off by telling us a little bit about your business now, and then we'll backtrack a little bit on how it actually came into being.
Okay. So I opened up Glass Arts Collective 4 years ago, and it is a dream come true. It's a glass classes in fused glass, stained glass, and mosaic. And we have a gift shop and a little bit of a gallery, and a lot of humor.
Why do you need a lot of humor?
Well, unfortunately, when my doors officially opened, it was 5 weeks before COVID hit. And being in Southern California shut down 5 weeks after I opened.
Disaster. Absolute disaster. But you're still here, so you must have done something right.
Well, I think that getting over right away any doubts or all the things that wanted to trickle up, the ego in the way, and, oh, how could you have possibly opened at this time? When I kind of just said, hey, stop bad self-talk. That is the worst thing you can do, is that self-talk that puts yourself down. And remember how much I wanted this, and remember all the reasons I knew this was the right thing to do. And so I used a lot of that time to do all those things in your head that, gee, I wish I had more hours in the day.
Yes.
I found those hours. So it gave me a chance to run through a lot of things. It gave me a chance to do more work. So I had more art created. I tried a lot of new techniques that I had never done. And I had the privilege of, when they allowed retail to open, my gift shop could be open. And so I met a lot of really, really nice people who were excited to be able to come here when classes could start again.
Fantastic. So you get to do your classes. You also get to shop there because you've got a retail shop. Did you immediately start with an e-commerce store because you wanted to be able to sell across the states and hopefully globally? Or did you actually have a view of, no, I just want to have my own place?
I did not have an e-commerce site because I didn't know how to do it.
Yep, fair enough.
So one of the things I accepted is I don't know it all. I don't have to know it all to get started. What's important is that I have the right mindset, and the right mindset is I can do this and people will enjoy it as much as I do. And the e-commerce came along earlier this year, actually. And it is slow to start with, as you would expect with any business of any kind. People have to find it. but it is starting to be found. I thought it was a
Mm.
hidden gem, and oh my gosh, I'm being found.
It is super exciting when you hear that little ping of an order coming in online,
Oh,
for
sure.
sure. And I actually love what you've shared there, Nancy, because I think that's a real gold nugget for our listeners, that, you don't have to have it all set up perfectly right from scratch, because it is a learning curve, particularly when you've come from a different background. You might not have done business before. You may have worked, in a normal sort of desk job. There's just so much to learn, and it's so brave and bold. And so these things can actually come, a couple of years down the track when you're actually more confident, I'm assuming, in the day-to-day mechanics of what you're actually running. And then it's like, right, now I'm going to tackle e-commerce. So we'll park that one for a little while.
Okay.
I'm assuming you have been an artist for a long time. Was it from childhood? Did you always dream of actually having a store? Why glass? These are the questions that are brewing in my mind at the moment.
Well, I've got some great answers that you aren't going to expect. Um, I loved coloring and coloring books. As I got a bit older, I didn't feel I had a creative bone in my body. I didn't feel like there was anything that I was connecting with. My dad and my sister are very creative, and I'd watch them and draw and paint, and oh my gosh, they were incredible. So, I tried to follow along. No. So I went into a corporate environment, being a geek. And for those who don't know, that means I got into technology. And so I did sales, I did operations, I did a lot of different types of jobs, and none of them required creativity, which is perfect. And then as years go by, and a lot of years go by, I was getting ready to retire. My parents moved from Massachusetts, where it was really cold, to California so I could be with them more. And at the facility that they were staying at, it's an assisted living facility, someone was coming on site and giving classes on glass art, fused glass art. And I'd never heard of it. So just timeline wise, this was 6 years ago.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So I begrudgingly decided I was going to take a class, mostly because I wanted to have something else to do with my mom. And I knew mom wouldn't care if my work wasn't perfect. It wasn't great. It wasn't whatever. Mom would be excited to do something with me. And that was my motivation. And I took my first class and I fell in love with it. It was my place that I was missing. I didn't know anything about it. I tried blown glass afterwards, and that wasn't it. I've done stained glass and mosaic now, and fused glass is truly my passion, and I am having a great time. But I did go through the imposter syndrome because it hasn't been that long. I opened a studio 2 years after I learned how to do fused glass. I knew I didn't have to know it all. I know how to run a business for the most part, the important parts. And so I conned my friends into helping me get started. And they knew more than I did. And I was thrilled to have their help. And they were thrilled to help me because they don't want to start their own business. So it was a great friendship going and starting off. And I'm still learning marketing and publicity. I'm learning still. And it's amazing. I got over that thing that I had when I was in corporate where, if they find out that I don't really know how that server really works, I have a good idea, but I can't take it apart and put it back together. I can't build my own. Are they going to be, and with this, none of that exists, and no one's competitive, and no one's looking over your shoulder going, oh my God, you picked those colors? None of that stuff exists here. And so it's nothing but this incredibly positive environment. And I have never had an environment like this in my career.
Isn't that fantastic? It's so fantastic when you can just feel the delight. It's like a dream. Sometimes it's annoying because you go, "Oh my gosh, if I'd known this earlier," but you didn't. And we all kick ourselves going, "Oh gosh, if
Yes.
I'd worked this out." But you know what? Hindsight's a great thing. It wasn't the right time, listeners. You've had the journeys for a reason, but you can get to this time at any stage of your life, and that's what I love, that you can actually just pause and go, here you were thinking, oh my goodness, retirement's next. And then you can just start something and go, seriously, do I get paid to be here? It's just too good to be true, because you're actually then creating this new hobby, learning to love it more and more. I love what you said there, that you'd only been doing it 2 years, because this is another big block for people. They think, oh, well, I have to be an expert, or they compare themselves against all these other people who are the gurus in this space. Whereas you don't need that. You just need to have a product that someone else is willing to buy, that they value what you have. And longevity doesn't mean that you're better at that. It actually, sometimes you can just do the same boring thing for 10 years. It may or may not be the differential, but what people want is someone who just loves their work and wants
Yes.
that work enjoyed, appreciated, valued by someone else, because you want them to go out a very delighted customer. Agree?
Absolutely agree. It took me a little bit to actually be able to say comfortably, I'm a glass artist. And then people were like, are you selling your art? Because this is beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I am. And it took 2 pieces. I couldn't say it after the first one, but the second piece that sold is like, I am a glass artist. And I'm trying all kinds of new techniques. I know that a lot of different glass artists out there, and they've got their techniques down really, really well. And they do beautiful work. And I'm excited because I don't have a specific technique that is my favorite. I love so many of them. So I'm mixing them and I'm bringing different ideas to them. And from having a somewhat technical background, things make sense. Like, I don't care that somebody said you can't do it. Why? Who am I to not believe that? I don't have to. And I have that go for it attitude. I'm going to try it. And some will work and some won't.
Exactly. And that is a common trait amongst successful people. I interview people from all around the world, and they've got to get to that place of, you know what, I might not know, but I'm going to enjoy the learning. I'm going to pull things apart, see what it looks like from all angles, try, see what works, what doesn't. They're happy to fail, but fail forward. And that's what you're sort of saying there. Also, to get in that position of comfort that, it's okay if it doesn't work out perfectly, if I try this new technique and it is not the best, because I will learn from this experience, or I'll be able to understand why it's not as good as one other. Whereas initially it's like you're learning something, you're wanting to go exactly the way you were trained,
Right.
So you go from that perfect model, but perfect only gets you to be as good as the person who taught you.
Yes.
It doesn't allow that next level of creativity. So I love that you shared you were told you weren't creative, because you're super creative.
Yes, I am. And it's really exciting. And I didn't have to be all my life, but boy, letting this other side of my brain start being in charge is eye-opening. And I laugh because I'll say that I'm floating on a cloud. And I'm not afraid to say that out loud. I feel that way because I'm having so much fun. And watching someone come in and tell me that they don't have a creative bone in their body and they don't know how they're going to do. And I said, by the time you pick up your piece, because it has to go into a kiln. So fused glass is made with at room temperature, really comfortable. We have a great time, but it's put into a kiln at night, similar to a ceramics kiln. And it's about an 18 to 20 hour cycle for the most part. Wow. So they can't pick it up that day. But when they come back in, I ask them to open it here, because it's in a bag. And they open it. I said, see, you'll never be able to say you don't have a creative bone in your body again. And they'll look at me and go, you're right. And they're just staring at it. I've had people say, this isn't my piece, because
it's too good to be true.
Yes. And that is so much fun. And and people also tell me how much they relax doing it. there's so much anxiety and so much ugly stuff going on in the world. To be able to come in here and have this little sanctuary where you can actually do something and enjoy it and feel really good about who you are, be appreciated by the people around you, that's quite a gift.
It is such a gift. I tell you what, and it doesn't just change them from that moment. It'll have then the ripple effect through their whole life. I know this because, and I've shared this on the podcast before, so sorry to our regular listeners, but when I was a kid, I brought home some crappy piece of art that I'd done, and instead of, me getting the message of, oh, it's beautiful and you'll keep getting better, I got told, we're not a creative family, we're not artistic at all, like a blanket statement. So then I just went, oh, well, I don't do art. Like, it actually just made it so I spent the next 20 years going, didn't never try to doodle, didn't do anything because I don't have that skill, right? And it wasn't until I married my husband and then just started going about our adult life, and he goes, gee, for a non-creative person, you're super creative. And it was really, I was stopped in my tracks because I went, oh, you think I'm creative? Like, I just had never questioned it. And when you actually start having positive experiences like what you're providing to your customers, it'll make them go, oh my gosh, I created this piece of work, but it'll also change the rest of the way they approach their life, right? Because that's such a huge block. It will have a ripple effect. So congratulations to you for having this amazing impact on people around the world.
I really hope that
like I was.
Yeah, I really hope that people, I realize not everyone's going to be in the Los Angeles area, but there are fused glass artists all over the world. Just check out their work. A lot of them have classes, or pick up some other hobby, even just coloring, grab some colored pencils. Don't worry what someone else is going to say. This is for you. This is for you to just let some creativity out and just let it flow. Don't think, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that. Nope. Just let it flow. And it usually takes a little bit because that negative self-talk is going to keep going at you.
Yeah.
But just say, you know what? Nancy said not to listen to the negative talk, and I'm not going to.
I love it. I love it. And that's it. When you allow yourself to immerse yourself in the flow, then the crazy stuff happens of, you start loving it more. You become braver, more calm, and it's incredible what comes about. Or you might just be a slow progressor, and that's okay. Or it might not even be your thing, but like you had to then try a few things to find out, well, what is it going to be? I absolutely love that.
Exactly.
So, that you don't have to have it all down concrete. I have so many people who share with me going, but I don't know what my thing is. Like, I want to get the thing, right? Everyone wants to be the expert of their God-given gift. And I go, you know what? You're going to have a whole lot of things to choose from. It's actually just to start leaning into that type of area, whatever it is for our listeners today, and then just start trying. So if it's music, try a few instruments. If it's, if it's doing art with different, products, tools, elements,
mediums. Oh, there's so much. Yeah.
Just try, So what has it been like for you? You said before you loved fused glass, but you've then gone and tried other things. Is that because your customers then come in asking for those other things? Or is it because you're at a stage you go, you know what, I'm pretty comfortable in my skills now. I think I'm going to start expanding.
Well, some of the people that I started with, my friends that were helping, knew mosaic and knew stained glass, and said, well, the tools are going to be pretty much the same, the basic tools. So why don't you offer more than just fused glass? I said, because I don't know them. And they said, well, we do. I said, oh, you want to help teach? They said, sure, we'd love to. And that's how the other one started. And then being with my friends and having some free time, I tried them. And they are pretty amazing. Don't get me wrong. It's pretty amazing stuff, but it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah.
And I like fused glass better than stained glass as an example, because I don't have to have as precise a cuts. The heat in the kiln goes up to 1,500 degrees, and the glass becomes a little molten. Not as much as glass blowing, which is about 2,000 degrees. But it softens the edges. It fixes those lines that weren't quite straight or just didn't match up quite as well as they should have. So It did. I call them my fused glass elves in the kilns that come in at night and they do all this magic in there for me.
Oh, so love it. It's like a little genie. That's right, an elf. And that's why your customers suddenly go, you know what, that must be someone that can't be mine because
Exactly.
it
And
can
so what
actually
we
come out.
suggest they take a picture beforehand so they can look at it afterwards and see the difference.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about setting the store up, right? Because I don't have a retail store. I grew up in a family business, but what was it like for you? So you've got a blank canvas. I can see it in your background there. It's a large space, but how did you go? Is this your area that you just went, I can imagine it, I can see how it's all going to be? Has it changed around based on your experience over now a few years? Did you actually go, you know what, this is a design thing, I'm going to have to go out to the experts? How did you approach that?
I was very fortunate. There had been a studio here that only taught fused glass, which is where I was playing and learning a lot. And they closed this location. And so they broke their lease, which is, fine. And one of the things was I said, I want it as is. I don't want you guys to redo anything. And so I did have more electrical put in. I have more kilns than they did. And I've moved some stuff around, but for the most part, I had a beautiful space right off the bat. And that saved me a lot of money.
That would save so much, because I know that and I do ask these questions intentionally because the fit out of a shop is huge.
Yes.
When you don't, many people sort of undervalue this. They go, oh, I want to have my own creative space, which is great. And sometimes that is necessary. But also if you can get a light business that's got some setup, such as the lighting, such as the kiln, such as where certain rooms are, or if you're acquiring many rooms,
Right.
it can make hundreds of thousands of dollars difference when you can say,
Yes.
please don't fix it. Because if you don't ask for this when you first go into a space, they can actually undo it because they think they're helping the next
Yes.
sale, and you've then lost that. You want to go and redo it. So it's a loss both ways.
Yeah. So I've been very fortunate. I mean, I think I've always had someone kind of on my shoulder that has always nudged me in the right direction to try new things. But this was one huge leap of faith. And I jumped in with both feet without too much thought into it because I knew my husband had a business and I was doing the operations for him. So I knew how to run a business.
Yeah.
And it didn't require all the things that's needed, but there's a lot of YouTube videos and there's a lot of great people who are tremendous mentors. And I wasn't afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, which is a really good piece of advice as well. If you don't know, just ask. People will tell you. And it does take a village at times. I love what you
Yes.
shared before around other people are specialists in mosaic or another thing, and you can bring them in as experts in that. You don't, even once you own that store, that business, you don't have to be an expert in everything. Think about going to the gym. You'll have the person who comes in to teach the step classes or the bodybuilding or,
Exactly.
Pilates or whatever it is. Now, some people might do 2 or 3, but you don't expect them all to be an expert in everything or love all of them. Some of them might go, you know what? I had a lady who worked at the gym, but you just meet her at the gym because she took everyone on walking classes because she goes, oh, I don't do gyms, even though, you met at the gym because she loved outdoors. And I love that as the owner has to think of, well, what do my clients need? What is compatible with the products that I'm offering, and then building that team around you to be able to offer that. It
Exactly.
must be challenging though. So what about, I'm thinking glass is fragile. Maybe the type of glass that you use isn't as fragile, but you're then going e-commerce and posting. These are issues that, would be challenging, or you'd have to learn about that as well. How does that work?
It is challenging. And so I've started off just shipping within the United States so that I can really get a better feel. So far, knock on wood, everything has shipped without breaking.
Yay.
And so I feel like I'm getting it down. I mean, I really understand how you need to pack it really carefully and market it's fragile and put insurance on it, because as much as the carriers mean well, life happens.
Yeah.
Um, but we have life happen here too. I mean, we can pull out a piece of glass and it just breaks for
Mm.
whatever reason. And what you were planning on doing with that piece, you can't do. But you know what? We learned how to make lemonade, and we'll take glass and we'll find some other use for it. And we'll find something else that we hadn't thought of at first. And you get over that hump again of the negative self-talk, like, why did this have to happen? And then you go, wait a minute. I don't listen to that voice anymore. And you go, what can I do with this? And all of a sudden you've created something completely different than you'd started with. And it was all because it broke in your hands, and not necessarily in your hands, but it broke. And now you have something else.
It's new opportunity. Absolutely. Absolutely. Is it a different clientele? How are you approaching that then? Obviously, I love what you said there, that you do the insurance and you do the great wrapping, because sometimes you can think as a business owner, you look at the margins and you can think, oh, but it'd be so tempting not to do that because I'll make more profit. And how often would it really happen? But you're wanting that customer satisfaction. It's always you got to weigh up the pros and cons of both. And ultimately, your business is building and being successful because they come to them in a timely fashion and not broken. And if there was an issue, it could get tracked and followed up. And so it's that customer feedback is gold. How are you then finding, you've got different clients there, the people who would come through your store because they live in the area or they've done a course with you and therefore know you, they get that brand and energy and pure love. So that journey that you've had, only a year now into that e-commerce side of the business though, that's a whole different space. So you're still learning that. How do you intentionally put that element of Nancy Marks into the e-commerce cyber world?
Well, part of I built my own website, and part of what I have on the website are little videos that I'm talking to my customers.
Yeah.
And I'm playful, I'm fun. I don't have a script in front of me. I just kind of talk off the cuff and with my silly personality. And a lot of what I get is word of mouth. I have friends referring friends. And so sometimes friends are bringing friends in because they're from out of town and they wanted to do something different with their friends who visited before. Mm-hmm. And then their friends go home and it's like, oh, I saw that. And I just can't forget that I saw that. And they'll call me and they'll ask if I still have it. So I'll make sure it's the same thing. They can look on the website, but sometimes they just like that personal touch. Yeah. And I'm thrilled to help any way I can. I love talking to people. I love helping people. I love the reactions. The energy I get from other people is just so incredible. And one of the things I also have here is Open Studio memberships. And my Open Studio members are my secret sales force. So they are constantly talking about the studio and sharing all the things that they're doing with their friends and family. And lots of people are getting gifts that are fused glass from them. And so that spreads the word really well. And one of the things I did change after I opened the studio was that I recognized that my Open Studio members are making a lot of things and they don't know how to run a business and they don't know how to do the Etsy and how to do all the marketing and everything else. So I allow them to put things in the gift shop too. So instead of just being one artist that you're looking at, you're actually looking at more than 11 artists in here right now. So it's kind of nice because it's such a variety of styles and colors and palettes and taste, and everybody's inspired differently. So you come in here and it's just, or you look online, hint, hint, you'll see a lot of different things. And I'm hoping in 2024 that I will go international with the shipping.
Oh, I'm feeling it for sure. Why not? If you can do something, and I love the stepping stones, though, that you haven't rushed it. And I really admire that, because some people will be going, oh, yes, I wouldn't dare to until I'm sure. And other people go too big too soon. And what's going to happen if you do get a ridiculous amount of orders, and can you actually process that? So everything affects your brand. So I think those stepping
Absolutely.
stones are so important. I love what you've done there to, as a concept, to expand your shop as well as support the people who are actually coming in. So, if they go and set up their own store, they then become your competitors, and that's okay if you're comfortable in what you've actually got. So go
Exactly.
out and do that, because once again, they'll have their own style and attract those own people.
Absolutely.
But not everybody wants to do the whole shebang, as I'll call
Right.
it, right? They
Right.
might not be bold enough, brave enough, think I'll turn my hobby into my main business. I'm
Right.
actually just happy having a little side hustle along this, side of which you'll
Yeah.
get a commission on. And so it's a great idea, and that's a really good one for our listeners to be thinking about as well. Is, can you be like an affiliate partner? Can they be affiliate partners of yours?
Yes.
Because that's it. They're going to tell all of their friends that their products are in your store.
Exactly.
Absolutely golden. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your advice to listeners today who are thinking, you know what, I would love to I'm sitting in corporate and I'd love to turn my hobby of passion into a business? What would be your advice to leave them with today?
I think the important thing is you have to try it. If you really truly believe it and it's really one of those things that you just feel so strongly about, you can try it. You don't necessarily have to start with a storefront. I mean, there's a lot of other ways to do business nowadays that doesn't require that big an investment and get started. But you're going to want to have a bit of a nest egg. I mean, unfortunately, people who get on Etsy or some of these other buying sites, you don't automatically pop up and all of a sudden you have all these people looking at you. They have to find a way to find you. So you really need to understand that it's going to take a little bit to get started. And I didn't expect the pandemic to hold me back a bit, but again, I looked at it from the right way, I feel. And that little voice, I keep squelching it. It keeps trying to creep up on me. And I'm just like, no, this was important to me. I really knew this was the right thing to do. And I did it. And I'm so
Fantastic.
proud.
You should be. Congratulations to
Thank
you. And
you.
and if you can do that through the pandemic and be positioned where you are at the moment, and seriously, listeners, anyone can. And that's it. Start it as a side hustle. Start selling through someone else, building your brand name. There's advantages and disadvantages of what we've been talking about today. Setting up a store, a lot more expensive, but then you get a brand name, you get people who love you, and it's easy to then go online. You might then go online and just pour all your energy into that, because you don't want those on costs of a actual store. And that's it. You can sell things on Etsy, Amazon, your own website, but you don't want to be the best kept secret. And that's the biggest downfall, that you want to make sure that you've got enough money for marketing to know how
Yes.
to use that effectively, so that people do find you. Because if you're not on that first page on Google, as we know, not many people flick to multiple pages. So do it small, do it in stages, but do
Yes.
it well, would definitely be my summary. And I think you have given a great example of how that is achieved today. So thank you so much, Nancy.
You're so welcome. Yeah, patience is a virtue.
Absolutely. And if people are over your way, where are they going to find you?
Actually, it's in Westlake Village. I am northwest of Los Angeles and on the way to Santa Barbara. So people usually know kind of that combination as they come out this way. And even if you just want to stop in and say hi, and where you saw me and you heard me with Annie, this would be great. I would love to hear that. And any feedback you guys have for me, I would love to hear it.
Fantastic. So if you're in the area, drop into Glass Arts Collective. Definitely say hello to Nancy. She will be thrilled to see you. She'd love to show you the art. You might even stop by and do a class. And and I would also love your feedback just from a business perspective. Today's conversations really revealed a whole lot of little gold nuggets for us on how different people approach their business startup. And it's been really great to banty that around today. Also been great to actually actually hear that, the honesty of that mindset, the negative voices, the restrictions that we often put on ourselves, and that desire that you've got, Nancy, is just a fantastic desire to go, you know what, I'm just going to keep going, keep chipping away. And that's what I encourage all of our listeners to do today. Yes. So thanks for sharing with us today, Nancy.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Women's Biz Podcast. I'm Annie Gibbins, founder and CEO of Women's Biz Global. And if you would like to fast track your future success, pop on over to womensbizglobal.com, where you can find out how our coaching, media and publishing opportunities are helping women just like you to become and be seen as the trusted authorities in their niche. Inquire today and start reining in the abundance you desire.